Sai was seen in an unknown location, strangely dressed as a pirate. "Are you ready, kids?" he called out to his apparent audience. A young boy stood behind a feline and canine was shown. I, Captain." A group of children called out as the boy called out his answer. Sai was now in a different location, though still dressed as a pirate. "I can't hear you." The host, holding his arms out for a bigger response. A young girl working at a small tea shop was then shown. I, Captain," the children declared even louder than before, with the girl looking eager for Sai to start whatever he was doing. Sai was in another location yet again as he prepared to sing. "Ugh," he vocalized, before a bunch of bubbles filled the screen to act as a transition. Once the bubble cleared, a yellow monitor lizard-like leviathan with a large, sponge-like mane was shown. "Who lives in caves that are close to the sea?" Sai sang as Akasha chased the leviathan into a waterfall. A close-up of the spongy creature was then shown. "Royal Ludroth," the children chanted as the beast's name was shown. The monster was now fighting Akasha. Absorbent and yellow and porous as he. Sai serenaded as the beast slammed its belly down with a huge splash. The sponge-like monster then leapt towards the demon-vampire hybrid. "Royal Ludroth." The children cheered yet again as the leviathan rolled to the side to try and crush the huntress while its name popped up again. Royal Ludroth then charged towards Akasha. He spits sudsy water until he's vanquished. Sai continued to sing as, indeed, the beast launched globs of water as it charged, that strangely bubbled upon hitting the ground. The beast let out a mighty roar. "Royal Ludroth," the children declared yet again as the leviathan shot a trio of water globs at Akasha and her palicos while its name was shown yet again. The leviathan was now underwater, fighting a hunter with a lance. Then jumps in the sea and swims like a fish. Sai trolled as the hunter repeatedly jabbed the beast. Sai was then seen riding on the beast's nose as it launched into the air for the kinship attack. "Royal Ludroth," the children once more as Sai stomped down on the leviathan's mane to release globs of water while the creature's name was shown once more. The fight between the huntress and the monster was shown. "Royal Ludroth, Royal Ludroth, Royal Ludroth." Sai and the children chanted together as Akasha evaded the attacks and struck back when she could. The leviathan was shown one more time. "Royal Ludroth." The beast roared as if it was singing the end of the song. The mature cast found themselves confused at the theme song. What just? Can anyone make sense of this? Ironwood questioned. "I certainly can't. I thought Rage was the random, obnoxious one." Why said. "Usually Sai's intros at least make some level of sense. This one, I can barely see a purpose for." Glinda scoffed. Come on, guys. That was cute and funny," Ruby told them. "Yeah, I thought it was kind of catchy," Velvet admitted. "And with the monsters in it, it was just so adorable." Summer cooed. "Kind of reminds me of a show from when we were kids," Young said. "Yeah, but he altered the lyrics. His were pretty creative, though. He put a nice little twist on them. Very clever." Neo agreed. Akasha could be seen stealthily approaching some smaller Ludroth from a distance. Love. It comes in many shapes and forms. And in the animal kingdom, the mating and courtship rituals can be some of the most important things for certain species, ranging from something relatively simple like life or death for a singular couple, or something as major as the continuation or extinction of a species, if they are unable to find a way to successfully reproduce and rear their young to adulthood. And thus, some creatures developed harems to maximize both the survival of individuals and the reproduction of their species, such as pride of lions, certain species of bats, or our monster of discussion for today, the water beast. The main contender, Royal Ludroth. Sai declared as the Royal Ludroth could be seen soaking its spongy mane in a waterfall in a cave. That's so sweet. It really is amazing just how many types of courtship rituals there are in the animal kingdom, Blake said with a smile. Right. The courtship stuff. That's what you were cooing over. Not the mating stuff, right? Ilya asked teasingly, only to laugh as Blake threw a pillow at her. Well, you know what they say, love comes in all shapes and sizes. Pyrrha said. I just like seeing all the cute animal families. Emerald stated. But then there were a few distasteful looks at the mention of certain animals making harems. Ugh. Harems. Nothing but an excuse for disgusting perverts to indulge in copious amounts of shameful vulgarity, Winter said harshly. Well, he mentioned maximizing reproduction. As the saying goes, it takes a village to raise a child. Penny said. Also, keep in mind, Winter, I have a harem. Katana reminded, showing a picture of herself with both Sephiroth and Esteth. Akasha was seen dodging and weaving the smaller Ludroth. A species of sexual dimorphism, the smaller Ludroth are either females or young males that have not yet reached maturity. Similar to Komodo dragons, they are surprisingly dangerous predators, decently fast on land, thanks to a specialized extract that makes them rather slippery, allowing them to slide across the land. They have powerful tails with reinforced bony segments, powerful jaws for strong bites for small monsters, and while their claws are short, they are still effective. And, while not as noticeable as their mature male counterparts, they have sponge-like growths on their bodies that seal in water for moisture, keeping them cool, but also allowing them to release the water to knock foes back. They are also capable of mixing water in their bodies with mucus to launch out water globules, similar to Ch90. But they're at their most dangerous in water, as they have far more range and a wider variety of attacks. The host explained as Akasha actually struggled to dodge the attacks of the group. Again with the mucus water? Aren't Ch90 and Namiel enough? Coco complained. Yeah, I have to agree. Normal water? Great. Mucus water? Nasty, John said. I mean, they gotta keep the water together somehow, rather than just a useless spritz of water like if you had some water cupped in your hands and threw it at someone. That's not gonna do anything, Crow reasoned. The glaive-wielding huntress was now stealthily observing the royal Ludroth. And then, we have the royal Ludroth, which is a male who has reached maturity. Easily identified by its obvious larger size, though it is still among the smallest of the leviathans, finger-like protrusions on its head forming a crown and, most notably, its massive mane, similar in a way to that of a lion, formed of an organic sponge-like material similar to sea sponges. And this mane has a multitude of functions, chief among them being to store water to keep them cool and hydrated while outside of the water for long periods of time, with intimidation being another factor, as the mane makes it look significantly larger. It has two more uses, but we'll get to those later. And, much like its smaller counterparts, the extract secreted by their scales allows them to be slippery and move swiftly across the land without expending much energy. Sai explained, before Akasha engaged the Leviathan in combat. No way. Sponges growing on them. That's crazy, Nora exclaimed. However, she then noticed several people giving her deadpanned expressions. Really? After wingmouths, scythe-tails and uvula lures, this is what you think is crazy? Cinder questioned. Young couldn't help but chuckle at this. When you put it like that, sponge manies are kind of weak by comparison, she said, then thought of something. Ooh, Ren, this would be the perfect partner for your Mizutsun. Ludroth is a sponge, Mizutsun makes soap and they both make water. They'd be the best dishwashers ever, she said. I will most definitely take this into consideration. Ren accepted the idea with great intrigue. Now in a different area, Akasha was having to fight both the royal Ludroth and its smaller counterparts. So, as you might have guessed, needing to stay near water, the Ludroth inhabit places with a nice balance of land and water, such as the deserted island, flooded forest, misty peaks, primal forest and ruined ridge. And they sit comfortably at the middle of the food chain, as they are actually omnivores, able to eat algae whenever meat isn't available. But while the royal Ludroth is a solid hunter or threat on its own, they often work with their pack members to more easily overwhelm enemies or catch prey, which ranges from small stuff like crustaceans, shellfish, clams, fish, Ethioph and kelby to even larger herbivores such as Aptonoth or Slagtoth. The host informed as Akasha used her insect glaive's aerial capabilities to try and avoid the full force of the pack. Well, the fact they aren't strictly carnivores is something we can take comfort in, Ashbin said. Yeah, otherwise beach tourism would take a serious hit. Imagine you're just laying out, sunbathing, then a giant sponge with a mouth come to take a bite out of you, Roman said. It is believed that omnivorous diets are actually the healthiest. Even with animals, herbivores occasionally eat meat while carnivores have been noted eating fruits or plants. Penny said. They sound quite capable as a pack. Then I'd be interested in testing the strength of the pack myself. Adam admitted. The royal one has a lot more weight to throw around, though. I bet it'd be a good wrestling partner, Hazel said. Akasha was now observing the monster from a distance again. Now, these packs normally consist of one royal Ludroth, the alpha of the pack, a small handful of males that have not yet matured, who will one day leave the pack, similarly to lions again, then the rest are a group of up to 10 females forming a harem for the royal Ludroth. Now, I know harems are generally frowned upon, but there are benefits to this system, as it maximizes the amount of offspring that can be born at a time, facilitates bonding and socialization structures and offers protection for the females, as the males fiercely defend them. Which brings us to their temperament and behavior, which is surprisingly calm. They are peaceful enough until provoked, but if you prove to be a threat, they will violently defend their clan. Although, they do seem to have an inexplicable hatred towards gobles and great jaggi, being known to ignore hunters and attack these two monster species on sight. Sai explained, before the fight started once again after the Ludroth spotted Akasha. Once again, some had issues with the thought of a harem. Like I said, maximizing reproduction, it's just an excuse to. Winter said, before stopping, looking at the students, and Crow, who were all looking at her with varying ranges of curiosity or amusement. Copulate. It's just an excuse for depravity. She declared. Oh, come on. At least for animals, it's just to reproduce instead of just to do naughty things. Nora said. Hardly. I fully agree with Winter. If it were true it was only for the sake of rearing young, male lions wouldn't kill the young of a pride they take over. Glinda said in disgust. Because those aren't his kids and he's not wasting energy raising kids that aren't his. Emerald defended. Hey, I don't see anything wrong with a harem. If ladies are willing to share the same man, or vice versa, then it's their decision and they should be respected for it. Crow declared. Yeah, what he said. There's nothing wrong with sharing. Especially late at night. Yang said suggestively. Preach it, sister. Coco agreed. Ooh, I like the sound of that, too, Neo said with a smirk. All of that aside, it's nice to hear they're protective of their harem, at least, so you can't say they aren't dedicated to their women. Summer said, although slightly nervously, as she still didn't want to outright condone harems. The royal Ludroth was shown in the cave, soaking its mane again. And while people accuse those who have harems of being unfaithful to their mates, royal Ludroth is anything but. Like I said, they will defend their mates fiercely, but their dedication truly shines during breeding season. The females will dig themselves a nest and then lay up to 7 eggs. The host explained as the beast charged forward. The Wyverian scholar Reggie was then seen again, sitting atop his stacks of books. Wait, 7 per female, or 7 in general? He questioned despite knowing the risks of interrupting the host. Sai was then seen as crickets could be heard chirping. Yes, he said, clearly not knowing the actual answer. This got a few laughs from the crowd. Oh, what a very informative answer. Pyrrha said with a little giggle. I would have preferred if it were actually informative. I'd rather know if we would be dealing with a mere 7 or somewhat daunting 7ty in the future. Ironwood grumbled. Oh, come on. It's just a little joke. Nothing wrong with that. Ilya told him. Besides, it's almost unheard of for a full litter in any species to make it to adulthood. She added in a more somber tone. The royal Ludroth was shown soaking once more. So, they dig nest and make the eggs, at which point they will stay by the nest at all times, diligently guarding their unborn young. But, as I said before, the Ludroth must regularly venture out to the water to fill their sponges to stay cool and hydrated, so if they refuse to leave the nest to do that, they will eventually die from overheating. Or, rather, that would be the case if the royal Ludroth wasn't around, as he will venture out, fill his spongy mane with water and hydrate the females to keep them alive and healthy. Then, the young will eventually hatch and stay in the shallows until they reach adulthood, eating anything smaller than them. Which can cause some trouble with fishermen as the young will sometimes swim in and eat their catch. But the children would never be born without the diligent watch of their mothers, who would never survive until the babies hatched if not for the royal Ludroth. Proving that having a harem doesn't make you a bad person. Sai declared as the Ludroth charged something. Ah, that's so sweet. Velvet cooed. Indeed. I find it most precious that the royal Ludroth has such love and dedication for its mates. Penny agreed with a smile. Agreed. I believe the royal Ludroth has gained my respect. Ashpin added. Yeah. I just hope I can have that much dedication to the ones I love in the future. John said. Very well. I guess I have to agree having a harem doesn't automatically make someone bad. Winter admitted. Glinda, however, looked suspicious. Is it just me, though, or is he being a bit too defensive for having a harem? Glinda questioned. A record scratched as Sai was shown standing around awkwardly. And not that I would know anything about that. He quickly stammered, before several women were seen, a pink-haired woman with a gunblade, a pale woman in a black leotard and cloak wielding dark magic, a dark-skinned woman with blood-red hair with a whip sword and a woman with black-haired and mismatched eyes, carrying a bazooka. Shit. The host cursed as it could only be assumed those women were members of his own harem. Many of the more uptight of the cast deadpanned at this. Of course he had an ulterior motive for defending harems. Weiss grumbled. And unlike Royal Ludroth, he doesn't have the excuse of needing to maximize reproduction. Ren added, hey, our family spends most of our life fighting monster, criminals, aliens, or other demons. Yes, we do need to maximize reproduction. Razara told him. Yang and Crow both whistled at Sai's harem however. Gotta give him credit, though. That's a nice crop of women. Crow praised. Heck yeah, I wouldn't mind getting a chance with some of them. Yang said, before looking to Neo. Oh, only if you were okay with it, of course. She quickly added. Yep, I'd definitely say he's got some quality tastes. Roman complimented with a tip of his hate. Harems are so romantic. RWBY said near silently, having read a few books in the genre and finding them very alluring. I've also seen quite a few interesting books that have harems in them. Blake said, seeing some smirks from her friends. And, no, they're not smut. She quickly added. Akasha was seen fighting the Royal Ludroth again. So then, what exactly are you up against when fighting a Royal Ludroth? Well, much like their smaller counterparts, their small claws are not to be underestimated, as they can dish out some deep swipes. Also, they have quite the powerful bite that would cause some serious pain and damage if they sank those teeth into you. But mainly when it comes to their physical prowess, they know they have a lot of weight and they prefer to throw it around. They make themselves into living bulldozers or steamrollers, ramming into hunters at high speeds, raising onto their hind legs to slam down on them, pouncing on them from great distances, or even doing a death roll to roll over and flatten any hunter in their way. Sai explained as the Leviathan used its bulk to try and crush Akasha much like he said. Well, it looks like you were right, Hazel. Looks like they'd be perfect wrestling partners. Cinder said. At last, a worthy opponent. Our battle will be legendary. Hazel declared. But that's for you wanting a straight-up wrestling match. For someone who prefers dodging and counter-attacking, using agility, they likely wouldn't be much of a challenge. Adam noted. Oh, they've got a few tricks that make agility a bit more difficult. Teko assured him. And yet again, the Royal Ludroth was seen soaking under the waterfall. But, of course, water is the bread and butter of these beasts. Not only are they massively greater threats in the water, being much faster and with greater ranges of movements, while also calling in their pack to aid them, they also use water as a weapon as well. Whether it be slamming down and releasing waves of water from their soaked manes, but they also have torrent sacs within their bodies allowing them to generate water, which they mix with their mucus to shoot out as big globs of water, being able to shoot up to 3 in short bursts or sometimes releasing several of them as they charge towards a hunter. But, strangely enough, once these globules hit the ground, they expand and bubble in place rather than just dispersing like most other water monsters, meaning you're not out of the woods if you avoid the initial attack and you still have to what are essentially water mines while also avoiding a giant water lizard. Sai warned as Akasha observed the bubbling water mines. Whoa, that's so cool. That makes its water glob attacks way more versatile than most other monsters. RWBY said, starry-eyed. Plus, it makes using agility a lot harder, so looks like it won't be as easy as you thought, Adam. Ilya told him. Especially if it has backup from its pack members. Weiss added. The glaive-wielding huntress was now on the offensive against the monster. So, what are your options when facing the main contender? Well, fire and thunder are the beast's greatest weaknesses. In addition, its tail can be severed, decently hampering some of its movements, especially when in the water. And also, its spongy mane can be broken, shaving off a bit of its extra mass and lessening the amount of water it can store in its body, greatly reducing the amount of time it can stay out of the water. The host advised as Akasha managed to knock the beast down. That would make sense. Water conducts electricity, so with a mane full of water, it would be easy to shock. And fire or heat would dry out the mane, depriving it of the water reserves it needs to survive outside of any large bodies of water. Penny said. And its tail is likely its main form of locomotion in the water. So, yes, I'd say all of that checks out. Ren agreed. The demon-vampire hybrid silently observed the royal Ludroth from afar once more. And so, that is the main version of royal Ludroth, but we aren't quite done with the water beast just yet, as there is a subspecies, the purple Ludroth. Sai explained, as Ch90 and his Monsty, a Velkhana, were seen facing off against a royal Ludroth with white skin and a purple mane, fighting alongside a couple of Hermitor. Nora tilted her head back and forth as she observed this new version of the Leviathan. Looks more pink than purple, she criticized. That's just better in my opinion. Now if it just had a little brown in it, it would match my colors perfectly, Neo said. I know, right? It's so pretty. I think I like this one more than the original. RWBY added. The Pompadour demon was now walking around, accompanied by the Ludroth subspecies. An interesting alternate version of the royal Ludroth. There have strangely never been sightings of normal Ludroth of this variation of the species. They've only been discovered as royal Ludroth. I'm guessing one day, a Ludroth must have somehow seen a TV playing Dragon Ball Z and caught a glimpse of Frisia and was like, whoa, that guy's cool. I wanna be like him, Sai explained as a lizard-like humanoid alien was shown fighting Goku. And so, this Ludroth eventually became a royal Ludroth and basically copied Frisia's whole flow, from his color palette to his toxic lifestyle. Because purple royal Ludroth are actually a pale white naturally, with the purple coloring coming from the massive amounts of toxins that are stored within their body. The host informed as Ch90 circled his Monsty to properly show it off. They have enough toxins to actually change their pigment? That's insane, Winter said. And with that in mind, you'd have to imagine the poison is significantly potent, Ironwood said in concern. Ch90 now rode the Ludroth through the desert, before getting in a fight with a daimyo Hermitor. Larger and stronger than the normal royal Ludroth, the purple Ludroth is also very different in how it lives its life. First of all, despite still having the need for water and a big, spongy mane, they actually prefer to stay out of large bodies of water, though they can still swim and live further inland than their normal counterparts, though they are still found in many of the same locations. Also, while they still do keep a harem of females to breed with, they are significantly more solitary than their yellow brethren, almost always seen on their own. And, fitting with their new toxic powers, they are far more aggressive about defending their harem and their territory from intruders. Royal Ludroth at least gives you a chance before it attacks you. So if it does, it's more than likely your fault. But purple Ludroth attacks the instant they see an intruder and won't stop until the intruder leaves their territory, or that intruder is dead. Sai warned as the poisonous Ludroth defeated the enemies. Oh, goody. Its personality is toxic, too. John groaned. Well, he did say it has a toxic lifestyle. I thought we all assumed that extended beyond just being poisonous. Viper Tobi Kadachi is poisonous, but it isn't toxically aggressive, Ren pointed out. Still, that is weird though. If they are still dependent on water, why wouldn't they want to be near water at all times? Coco asked. Well, Mizutsun is also a Leviathan that are supposed to spend large amounts of time in the water, yet it also prefers a land-based life, Velvet said. There are actually quite a few creatures that honestly do things against their intended lifestyle. Bamboo is actually nowhere near the ideal food for pandas, and koalas should absolutely not be eating eucalyptus. Yet they do. Penny informed them. Well, at least their harem game is still strong, Roman said. Ch90 and his Velkhana were seen actually fighting the purple Ludroth and the Hermitor this time. So, the situation is still similar to a normal royal Ludroth, only with some minor tweaks. First off, while normal Ludroth did its pouncing attack from a standstill, purple Ludroth likes to get a running start before pouncing, so you'll have to be ready to tell if it's just going to charge or if it will jump at you. Secondly, again, while normal Ludroth usually does its roll attack from a standstill, purple Ludroth does this after running at full speed. Unpredictability is this guy's game. But of course, the biggest change is the poison, of which our purple pal has both kinds, the standard stuff and the much more deadly noxious poison, which it inflicts with its water globs, now mixed with poison, or from swipes of its claws. It's so potent with poison, in fact, that it leaks out toxic fumes from its mouth when enraged. It can even unleash waves of poison from its mane by slamming it down on the ground. The host explained as Ch90 and his Monsty tried their best not to be poisoned. Ah, yeah, now we're talking. More aggressive means a more intense fight. Nora cheered. Preach it, sister. I'm ready to handle that thing no matter how aggressive it gets. I'll just get more aggressive. Yang declared. I like how it mixes things up a bit to keep the fight interesting. Crow said, to which the thrill-seekers nodded. The best opponent you can ask for is an unpredictable one that will keep you guessing. Adam agreed. However, the two of them were still doing very well fighting the toxic terror. However, the aim of the game is still the same as with the normal main contender. Their weakness is fire and thunder, messing up the tail throws off their movement and damaging the sponge mane messes up their water intake, but also greatly reduces their potential with their poison. Sai explained as said as Nasai and his Monsty defeated the poisonous beast. Huh, no special change in resistances or anything? That's kind of disappointing. Cinder admitted. Well, I believe the saying goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Pyrrha said. Nasai was now riding on the back of his purple Ludroth as it swam around a small lake. So, that is all there is on the purple Ludroth, and with that, we have reached the end of the road with these two species. They may be a bit extreme, but everything they do for the sake of their harem, doing all they can to ensure the women they love who will bring their children into this world. And I believe that is something all living beings should be able to understand, doing whatever we can for those they love. The host finished as Ryder and Monsty simply enjoyed their time together. Many of the females smiled at this. That is actually so sweet. Summer cooed. And so romantic. Velvet said with a smile. Indeed. I believe we need to give these creatures far more credit than we did at the beginning. Glinda said. Agreed. All the women said together. So, what did you think? Razara asked. I loved it. It looks cool and it would probably be really fun to fight with its water mines. But more than anything, I love how sweet it is for being so protective to its mates and children. Ruby cooed. Agreed. I have to give it praise for the dedication it shows to its harem. Glinda said with a smile, before narrowing her eyes. If only most men were so loyal. She added in annoyance. Neo then got an idea. Hey, you know, I bet if its mane was full of water, it would be really nice to lay on. It'd be like a waterbed. The diminutive thief said. Oh, man. That would be so sweet. I could be sunbathing on its mane on a nice summer day as it floats in a pool or maybe a lake. Yang agreed. Yeah, it'd probably be really cool. You could ride a monster and get a tan at the same time. Ruby said excitedly. So, I wonder, what does the armor look like? Coco asked. Oh, here's a few pictures. Teko said, making the screen show an image of both male and female armor. Ah, that's really cute. Weiss admitted. Kind of looks like a parka. Which is fine with me. Stylish and functional. Coco agreed. Yeah, and I bet if you put just a little bit of water into it, not too much, it could probably keep you nice and cool on a hot day. Roman added. Ooh. You know what I bet would be fun? Poking its mane when it's full of water. Nora said. Ruby gasped at this. Oh, my gosh. That would be so amazing. It'd probably be so soft and squishy. Ruby agreed with a giggle. Well, don't worry, kids. Because both versions of these monsters will be coming to Remnant. There are plenty of Grimm that are bigger threats than one of these guys, so if you can take them down, one of these guys shouldn't be that big of a deal. Katana told them. Yes. Ruby, Yang, Neo, Nora and Coco all cheered. That'll definitely be fun. Especially the purple Ludroth. Crow said, to which the girls who cheered nodded vigorously. While I agree individuals shouldn't be a problem, the problem is that they are more than individuals. If the multiple females really do lay 7 eggs each, that could easily cause an overpopulation problem. Ironwood pointed out. You have a point, sir, but as Ilya pointed out before, it is extremely rare for a full litter to make it to adulthood. Penny reminded him. That and, well, I'm sure you guys remember that there are such a thing as culling quests, even if we really don't like them. Teko said grimly. I still don't like that. Pyrrha said, with the other two members of the Cinnamon Trio nodding in agreement. Let's just move on, shall we? Glinda suggested. Oh, right. Well, this one is going to be interesting. A monster with a lot of duality here. This monster's pretty cool and pretty hot. Get ready for Eruzirian. Katana told them, playing the next video.